like that.
I know. But then I feel like I'm making my face too serious. Alright, I'm gonna just get
Your
started.
face is always too serious. That's what we try to tell you.
What's going on, family? Welcome to the Context Complex. It's your boy Tariq Dupri and my co-host.
It's me, the Golden Dawn, aka now I see you messed me up. Say it again. Start over.
What's happening, family? What's good to everybody out there tonight? Damn, it can't be tonight because what if they don't watch it tonight?
It's tonight for us. It's fine.
Alright. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Context Complex. It's your boy Tariq Dupri and my lovely co-host.
Me, your girl Dawn, aka the Golden Dawn.
And you already know how we getting and popping on this side. You know, we going in between, outside, and all around the lines in the Context Complex.
That's right. So what are we talking about this week, though?
The context be complex.
Your context is always complex, sir. Always.
So it's a whole lot that we got to talk about.
I think this one might be kind of long by accident.
I think it's going to be a little bit long. So stay tuned. Get your popcorn. Get your favorite snacks. Get ready. You feel me? Whatever you need. And yeah, so today, I feel like one thing we got to talk about is relationships.
Oof.
And,
that's a heavy one.
Oh yeah, it can be.
And a misunderstood one, if you ask me.
Yeah, they already misunderstanding me. Everyone out there already got a false perception of what it is that we about to talk about when it comes to what I mean by relationships. But it also kind of means what you thinking it means too. That's part of it. So I feel like we got something else to talk about today too.
Because I think before you could talk about relationships, you have to talk about spiritual levels. And that might sound odd to some of you, like, why would relationships and spiritual levels have any kind of why would they be connected? But I think that's a big deal, that we have to clear up one misconception to get to the other misconception.
Most definitely. Because the way I see it is like, in order to really resonate with another person, y'all gotta meet on a level, on a vibe, on a frequency at some point.
You do.
So
you do.
That's the basis. That's the foundation. So
when I say spiritual level, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
The first thing that really comes to my mind, I see it as like phases, and kind of like it can be phases and it can be cycles, and it's just like different points of awareness. I would say awareness like within yourself. Really, that's it. But like on that note too, is like for me, I feel like throughout my experience, like I'll kind of have similar experiences going in my life, whether it's with the similar people or similar circumstances, or in different circumstances, in different people, places, things, but it's kind of like the same energy of what's going on.
Absolutely.
And for me, I feel like we kind of, keep resonating in those levels or, cycles, phases, whatever you want to say, until we get like the message that we were supposed to get from it. And it's ready to go up to the next level. And it's not even to say like level 2 is better than level 1, because level 2 is an extension of level 1. You feel me? You had to come from level 1 to get to level 2. So that's the way I see it.
You know what? So I love how you put that, and frankly, I feel like I have some words that have been sitting heavy on me, because I told you recently that I was talking to a few different friends, and these friends were talking about how other people were a level above them, and they couldn't attain that level, and they didn't feel worthy to hang out with people. And I've talked to other people who kind of look down on people and say like, they're not on my level or nothing. And so it happens in both ways. And I always talk about like deifying people, and I think that. And when I say deifying people, if that's like a misunderstanding for anybody out there, I mean like literally looking at somebody as if they are some holy entity that you are not. That there's something better about them, that there's something more about them, and there's something that you don't have. That's deifying somebody. And people do it regularly. You can see it in terms of like how people fan out for certain people. You know, that people go crazy and pass out dead because they see people, and that's a part of deifying. Or when a person can say anything out their mouth and you're like, I believe that to be Bible. That's deifying somebody. And that's, first of all, you're not listening to your intuition at all. But second of all, it's just inaccurate. So when I say it's inaccurate, when we meet people, and of course, you don't have to agree with my take on this, so take your own intuition. If this vibes with you, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But when we meet people, those are the people that are on our level. And so even though somebody can be coming to the table with more plates than you, they're still at the same table as you. They just brought more plates. You're still there. You're still in the conversation. You're still together. And so even you're going to have something that that person doesn't have, and they're going to have something that you don't have. Even if they already have more of something, you're still going to exchange something until you get to somewhere else. Now, I like to use metaphors. If you've been watching, you know I'm a teacher, so always looking for a good metaphor to re-explain something. I think of levels in terms of my students. I'm an 8th grade teacher. That is my primary job. I teach 8th grade, right? So as an 8th grade teacher, I've gone to school. I have advanced degrees. I've gone to college, like all of that, right? But I'm in an 8th grade classroom with 8th grade students. Those are my students. We are in that room together. I am giving them something, and believe it or not, they're giving me something back. Now, I can tell you specifically what my 8th grade students have given me back. They make me the mother that I am. If I did not teach 8th graders, I don't think that I would be half as empathetic as I could be to the people that are in my home. And so by teaching 8th graders, I realized that even though they're big people, they're still little people. And they still need to be treated as such. They still need to be cared for. People still need hugs. People still need to be spoken to a certain way. And then I hear what my 8th grade students tell me about what they don't like about parenting. And I say, I wouldn't like that either. And so I don't do that to my kids. Because if I don't want that to happen, and kids are telling me they don't like that to happen, so why would I do that? And so as a mom, I think that I'm much more understanding, patient, kind, because my 8th graders give me that back. And then for me, of course, I'm giving them language arts education. And because I'm so thankful for their trade of parenting to me, I try to make sure, not even try, I make sure every day I leave it all out there on the floor when it comes to teaching. From the minute I walk into that building to the minute I leave, I am on, because there's an exchange happening. So to just move on with this metaphor, if I were to go with all of my higher knowledge to teach 10th grade, I'm not going to just swim right away. It's not going to happen, because that's not my level. My level is an 8th grade teacher. That's where I have everything to give. It's going to take a minute for me to, eventually I'll get there and I'll swim. But it's going to take a minute because it's not my actual level. Now, the next step to this metaphor, because I'm telling you, this is the kind of episode this is today. So I think to myself, as a teacher, I want to be better at my job. And so I'm trying to do everything that I don't think I like other teachers doing. I'm trying to do everything that I feel like is the right thing to do, despite what maybe rules or regulations are maybe in place. I'm going to do the right thing. And with that, I've been invited to meetings with higher ups. I've been invited to come in, what's your opinion about curriculum? I've been invited to another table. So my level is shifting, because I'm putting in the work with the level that I'm in now. And that's how my level shifts. So while I have my foot in as an 8th grade teacher, there's another part of me that's still growing to the next level, because now I'm invited to the people who speak that other language and go to the next level up, And so when it comes to people being, oh my gosh, you're so much higher than me, the people who really are at a different table, You're not at their table. You don't interact with them. And when the time comes, you will. But right now, you don't. Just like you don't interact with people who are doing crazy things on the streets. You're not out there because that's not your level. That's not what you do. That's not where your mind is. You're the people that you meet, the people that become the relationships, because we're going to get there, are the people that are on your spiritual level. Did I make that plain?
I feel like you did.
I hope so, because I feel that was heavy on my heart. You know, I've been talking about this one for a minute.
I can see that. Another thing that is super important too is like, you were talking about like people looking at these other tables, looking at other tables other than their own, you know, and being like, oh, this table is on a higher level than mine, or, you know, I should be at this table. Don't look to another person or another thing or another entity or whatever it may be as something for like true inspiration, because ultimately it's like I feel like so many people do that it becomes everyone has their eyes on a table that's not even really meant for them, you know, because it's like when we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people who all have a different purpose, who all have a different path, we're like, oh, they're doing X, Y, and Z, and it looks like they're very happy doing it. It looks like they're having a really great time doing it, and maybe you would be miserable doing it.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's a good point.
So it's like, too, like, you know, when just focusing on your table, wherever you're at now, sitting at that table, you know, and taking the time to actually be there is what's going to upgrade that table, expand that table. Maybe y'all get a new table, you know? Maybe some people get cut from the table. Maybe everyone gets cut from the table. Maybe it's just you left at the table. But at the end of the day, it's like you taking, instead of running from your table and going and looking at this person's table, going and looking at this person's table like, oh, well, I don't have this, I don't have that, this looks like this, you know, instead of doing that, like instead of running away from what you got to sit at your table, and that's the only really way that you're gonna get to those next levels.
Nobody's gonna invite you
right.
if you just peeking around. You're not doing your work.
You're just looking at everyone else's plates and whatnot. It's like, you know, what is that doing for you except just placing you more outside of yourself? Because when you are like deifying someone in that way, like the way that I see it, you know, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But like I see us all as like divine beings. So with that being said, at points, you know, I felt that exact same way where I've kind of like deified certain people or, you know, certain things, ideas, and just kind of like placed power outside of myself. What we have to realize though is that what we enjoy seeing about other people is just like aspects of ourselves that we appreciate about ourselves, like being reflected back to us. And also, when you recognize that everyone is coming from the same energy, like we are all one in that sense, we all come from source, it's like there is really no comparison, you know? It's like there is nothing that could be outside of you. So everything that you're looking for is really already within you in that sense.
It's funny how many people, like, I know you meet the people too that say that but don't reflect that in their life. I was saying it
at first before I was reflecting it.
But I guess you gotta like walk, like talk the talk and then walk the walk a lot of times, right?
I think talking the talk helps, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel that way about a lot of things. I really talk big shit about myself. Like, yes.
And it's good. Like, you gotta big yourself up. You gotta lift yourself up. You gotta believe in yourself and have faith in yourself even when you haven't for so long. Because at the end of the day, like, the universe is always gonna have faith in you. God always has faith in you. The way I see it is like if you wasn't meant to be here, you wasn't gonna be here. You know.
Big facts.
So
that's what it is.
It's like you just gotta lean into that. And yeah.
The whole because now I'm like, I was gonna say something, but I was so caught up with what you were saying, and now I forgot. But I guess it'll come back when the time is right. It happens to me too. I was like, oh, you're saying some things.
But it's so important because like as long as you do continue to like put someone else in that light, or you know, put something outside of yourself says you can't do that, it's gonna like take away from your power. You're like putting down that inner divine essence that's within you, and you're saying actually like that's not good enough, all of that. So
And you will
that's
never
super
grow.
important to be. Yeah, it's like, you know, you can't have growth when you're speaking down to yourself. You're speaking down to yourself, you're gonna continue to go down. You gotta lift yourself up, talk yourself up, you know, speak life into yourself.
Because you're your most powerful voice for yourself. And I think people forget that, because I know for me, I like to hear words of affirmation. Like, I'm a word person. If you want to show me something, tell me words and then do a thing. Because that's what I like. But when it comes to our voices, oh, and I got a small story. You know, I always got a story for everything. But like, but when it comes to our voices, we're our strongest voices, because that voice is with you 24/7, your own. Like, who's with you all the time but you? And so you're your biggest either detriment or advocate. It depends on you. If you're always in your own mind talking trash to yourself, like, do you know what that does? Like, your mind is swimming in negativity soup and you don't even notice. And then when somebody said something negative about you, it resonates as true, because that's all you feed your brain.
Yeah, you already believe it within you. It's crazy. I was just talking about this the other day. There's a book called The Four Agreements. The second agreement is not taking anything personal. And the whole concept is just like acknowledging these agreements to like create more peace within your life overall. And in like not taking anything personal, it talks about if some person, you know, that if they're speaking that way to you, chances are you don't really have a connection with them, you know. And if you do, yeah. So, but like, you're only gonna really allow those words, or like the way the author refers to it, that like emotional toxicity within you, within your being, when you have like faith in what they're saying, because like you already have this concept about yourself, and now they just pressed on it, so you're gonna allow it in. And it's like, you can still, even if you feel that way, learn to like block off from what people are saying and begin that undoing process. It's just, you know, say it in your mind right now. Like, if someone is talking down on you, you know, speak within yourself what you actually are.
Absolutely. And I remember what I was going to say about that part. So years ago, I read in this one book. It was called The Book of Secrets. It was like, I found it some store. It was like a velvet little tiny book, a Book of Secrets. And I was, at that point, I was just kind of like, so as I always say, like, I was born into this spiritualness, like, but with that being said, I never really studied anything. Life happened. Spirituality happened at me. And so at this point in the game, I was just not focused. And so my main thing was opening books, and that's whatever it was whatever it was going to be, right? Like, that's the vibe of the moment is what this book said. And so I opened this Book of Secrets that I found in this random bookstore, and it was talking about meditating using your own name as like your chant. And so at that time, I did this. I meditated using my own name, and my mom read the book at the same time, and she meditated using her own name. And I swear to you, it was like a karmic shitstorm. It was like a karmic hurricane. Like, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, but as soon as it was over, everything that could have gone right went so right.
Yeah.
But it was so intense, I'd never do it again. But I'm just like, I'm saying that to say, like, that is the power of your own voice and who you are, your own name. Like, that has so much power. Like, I'm telling you, our life was in shambles, and then it just went to like magnificent afterwards. But like, I don't need shambles at this age. So I wouldn't do it again. But if you're looking for a quick fix to get your karma all cleaned up, like throw it in the cleaner, then say your own name, chant with your own name, and then put in the comments what happened. Tell me no after a month, because I want you to get to the glorious part. After you get to the shambles shitstorm, then tell us in the comments how you felt.
If you feel like you got a lot coming, make sure you praying for protection, because you just, I ain't gonna say nothing.
I didn't even have the awareness at that time to even, like, that was before I knew how to like protect myself.
Mm.
So I was just out here spiritually vulnerable. Like that was back in the day. I don't even know if I told you, but those were the days where I saw negative ghosts. And it was like, I remember the house that I lived in would get so dark at night. It was like an absence for real of light, and the demons used to live there, so I would keep my door closed and never come out the whole night. And it was crazy, but that was that time in my life. Like, I used to go to people's houses and just be like, oh my god, your house is haunted and I can't be here. It was so stressful.
Wow.
Totally off the topic, but totally off.
Just a little bit.
Just a little. I don't know what ghosts have to do with relationships, but here we go. That was my beautiful segue. You like that? From ghosts to relationships. So you're thinking deep about that, huh?
It's crazy that you're talking about ghosts, because what I was gonna say is, if you calling in all your karma, especially in a quick way, you just might die.
That could happen too, if that's what it's supposed to.
Even if it's not a physical death.
I definitely died one.
You probably going to die in a metaphorical sense.
I love that.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like
I got caught up. Like, what? That sounds.
I feel like that's kind of what it is all about. Like, if you're feeling like you're in a position where that's what you need, you gotta like release those old aspects of self that are no longer serving you, and kind of like allow these pieces of you that are really no longer living to begin with, because they are not serving you. If anything, if they're not serving you, then they must be draining you. So that part's already dead. You just gotta let it go.
Absolutely. So speaking of letting go and bringing in, look, I'm trying to make a segue out of everything. It's not really working. My segue game is not strong today.
It's happening somehow, some way.
The funny thing was, now I'm off track because this is how I live my life. But the funny thing was, I was like this in class today. So all class, I'm trying to we're gonna read this book, guys. But then I'm making jokes myself and distracting everybody. And I'm like, this is one of those days where I fail as a teacher because we just bugging out.
Nah, it's all good. Those days are necessary.
They think so. I think those are my kids' favorite days, when I just say, forget it. I got the sillies. That means I can't teach you.
That was always my favorite days.
When I was a kid. Bugging out.
I feel like we was always trying to get y'all to that point.
No, you know me, and I'm sure they know me, that it doesn't take but much to get me like, ooh, something funny. It doesn't take much at all. Let a kid type a dirty word. I'm a mess.
I would be the same way. That would be hilarious to me.
So hilarious. So one kid told me, he was like, ma'am, I can't put the answer I want to, because I'm going to get in trouble. I was like, no. Type that right now. Like, I need to see that. Okay, relationships, right? Third segue. Still not smoother.
So, when it comes to relationships, the concept of like deifying someone might be a little tough for some of y'all to grasp. Maybe not. But basically, just whenever, especially in romantic relationships, because I had not emphasized that that's not the only relationship that we're necessarily referring to. But when it comes to romantic relationships, especially, I feel like, also, it can be in friendships, it can be in family, it could be in any type of relationship or connection, which, can embody any type of connection that two or more people have. So at that point, I feel like so many people that are in relationships nowadays, or have been in relationships, or are in and out of relationships, whatever the case may be, are constantly putting their own light outside of themselves onto these other people. And then it's once you do that, you no longer are serving yourself, and you've also kind of told yourself that you're not everything that you are, and that you're not whole, and you're not complete on your own, no matter how much of the absolute reverse of the truth that is. When you believe that, that's what you're going to be operating on. And I feel like it's so important to really stay grounded in yourself, stay true to yourself, and just acknowledge that there is no one that's above you, no one that's beneath you, and no one that's above you, because it happens way too often, and it can be just such a damaging experience.
Absolutely.
And from hurt comes growth for sure, but also we don't want to keep running into the same walls over and over again.
I think that's the big key is just, I don't know, learning from your mistakes, just like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I low key feel like a relationship expert. I know I'm not an expert, but I low key feel like one.
No, I think you are.
Because, and I say this because I've maintained a best friendship for 23 years and I've maintained a marriage for 12 years.
Yeah.
And I think that both those things are quite a feat. And so, and not just that, outside of that, I have good relationships with my students who come through my room. I have good relationships with my children. I have good relationships with the people that I run into on the street. And I think it's because of a few different tenets that I live by. And I think that anybody can have these kind of relationships, but it's a matter of not only remembering who you are, but also treating somebody with the respect that you treat yourself. And I think people say
make sure
that
you're treating yourself with respect first.
Because but if you don't know how to treat yourself with respect, it's not gonna translate to any kind of relationship.
Facts.
And so, and even in my relationship, like obviously to be a best friend for 23 years or to be a wife for 12 years, you're gonna have to go through a lot of different hoops and steps and journeys to get there and stay strong. And that's like what you were saying, like you have to go through the negative things to grow from it. If we didn't grow, we couldn't make it to through marriage or through friendship. Like if I just would have got stuck in my way when things like got ugly, then we would have gotten stuck and not progressed positively.
Right.
And so I do think it's always a level of constant growth, checks and balances. But there are a few things, like I said, there's a few things that I live by. And one is, I think that every relationship is like, regardless of if they're my friend or if they're my husband or my best friend or whatever, I'm treating everybody in the same level of respect. Like, everybody is the same to me in that way. So, and when I say everybody's the same, obviously I'm married. I'm not doing those acts with my friends. Like, that's not the same. But when it comes to just the idea of how I care about your feelings, I care about your feelings the same way I care about his feelings. Like, I care about how you perceive me because you're my friend. I care about what my tone of voice is when I speak to you because I don't want to have a disrespectful tone of voice when I speak to you. Like, I care about the words that I use when I talk to you because I don't want you to be offended by the things that I say and just having a disrespectful, tone. If we have any friction, I care about not saying anything mean just because I have a feeling. Like, that's the one that gets me when people get mad and think it's okay to be mean. That's not okay. If I respect you as my friend, why would I want to hurt your feelings? Why would I ever want to do that? But and that's not a good relationship. If you can't control that.
But that's why you would do it.
That is why you totally would do it 1,000%. But I feel like that's the first tenet right there is to stop hurting people because you're hurting.
Yeah. And stop hurting yourself. Stop putting yourself down. Stop judging yourself. Stop shaming yourself because all that judgment that you got for other people, all that shaming that you got for other people, all that hurt that you got to project on other people, it's all because of your own opinions about yourself. Like, the reasons that we going inside our mind and beating ourselves up, telling us that we're this type of way and that we're that type of way because of whatever that we do, or however we carry ourselves. At the end of the day, that's your perspective and your beliefs, and it's like so many other people, everyone has different beliefs than you, and your beliefs are constantly changing. Like, our beliefs have constantly changed. How many times do we feel like we changed in one day,
Absolutely.
And it's like, you got to give yourself that, like, flexibility and that compassion to be, a ever-changing being, and also to, like, not, like, allow, when you sitting there casting that judgment and that shame and that all these things for your beliefs upon yourself, it's like your beliefs have changed over time, so they're gonna change in the future. You might not even believe that in the future, but in the present, like you're sitting there literally beating yourself up internally about it. And that's when that projection to others for the things that we would do that to ourselves comes out. And especially so when we're emotional, especially when we're not like taking time to be mindful of our emotions, you know.
That now I have a good segue from mindful of your emotions, but that's like I think one of the biggest things that we need to work on. And I see memes that say to do the opposite. Like I see memes that say like, oh, just let your emotions flow crazy. That's a paraphrase, obviously that's not what they say, but they're just like, like your emotions are your emotions, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. But I personally don't subscribe to that. I do believe that you're going to have emotions, obviously, but I also believe that there's a way to control them. I have muscle movements and I can control those.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel like there is an extent to which you can control it. Obviously, if you make me mad, I'm going to feel mad inside my body. I will.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to yell at you and call you out your name. I don't have to do that. I can still be mad. I can still feel what I feel. And I can still control myself.
Right.
You know, even in terms of like, there's times where I'm in a position where somebody made me so mad I want to cry, and even then I have to look, Dawn, keep it on the inside. Like, you want to show this emotion, but you gotta like hold on 2 seconds, get to the bathroom. Like, it happens. You guys know out there, you can resonate with that. There's been those times, you know, like, but you can control this. Just like even when I have the sillies, that's a emotion that's really hard to control. But sometimes I'm sitting in that meeting just laughing in my own head, like control that. You can control your emotions, and I feel like once you get to a state where you have, you know, control over yourself in a situation, that's when you can start making better decisions in relationships and whatnot.
Absolutely. In everything that you do, in every little single thing that you do, because you take that time like to bring that awareness to your emotions. Over time, it's not gonna be easy. You feel me? Because like you said, like we've kind of just been letting our emotions flow for however long we've been doing that for. And also, I wanted to say, I feel like there's a lot of emotionally unstable people out there that are producing a lot of these memes. And I be seeing it even on these spiritual pages promoting a lot of like stuff that I feel like will only bring you away from yourself and
True.
like leave you off more confused.
True.
And yeah, it's unfortunate, but that just comes again to like really being secure and trusting in yourself, because you're gonna know what's right for you and what's not right for you. And at the end of the day, like, you can't just be so trusting in all these things that are outside of yourself, you know?
I think that's like a lesson that's so hard for people to learn, is to listen and trust their inner voice.
It's because we've been like, I feel like as kids, we're kind of like beaten into submission, whether it's physically sometimes, mentally, or, you know, verbally. And it's kind of like, we're just kind of, you know, you don't have a voice, you have to listen to my commands, you have to do this, go to school, it's the same thing, go to church, maybe it's the same thing, maybe not, you know, depending where you at, but, and maybe it's not that way in school, maybe your parents aren't like that, but a lot of the times it is that way.
Exactly. I mean, I meet a lot of parents, and honestly, like, I meet a lot of parents, and most of the parents are not crazy parents, but then you have those few, and you're just like, how do you not realize that your kid is like this because you're like this too?
It's just like there's a certain level of like unconsciousness in it. I feel like where people are constantly going and projecting their emotions onto other people, they're not so conscious of it. Like, I feel like because it's such a habitual tendency, you know, at times, that I feel like they might know, but they don't know the intensity, the severity, the emotional like feelings that they're putting on to other people that are like really, you know, breaking people down.
Yes.
And it's like they might know that, yeah, like
it's mean,
right, that they said something bad, or like they might feel something about it for a second, might apologize, but like at the end of the day, they don't comprehend like
how deeply it's affecting somebody.
That shit gets deep, yo. Like, that shit cuts deep. Like, at times, you know, that could really fuck someone up.
Yo, I was teaching 6th grade once, and there was this kid that was off the walls. He was smart, but just off the walls. They come like that sometimes. So we're in this parent-teacher conference, and this mom is literally saying, like, it's all the teachers that teach this kid, and this mom is literally saying, I don't know, he was just born bad. He was just born this way. And I'm like, you said that to your 12-year-old face? You just said that. Like, so if you felt comfortable to say that your son was just born bad in front of a room full of teachers, and you felt comfortable to say that, what do you say to that boy when nobody's looking?
Yep.
Cause I couldn't even, you know, my face. I have a hard time controlling what my face looks like. My emotions, one thing, my face, another thing. But I was just like, my whole, and I hate to say it, but like that became like, and I hate to say it because I don't want it to be because of that reason, but that was like my kid after that, because I was just like, you need hugs, you need words of affirmation. Every time I pass him, I'm like, how's your day, King? Like, we're gonna do this. Like, oh my goodness, I was like tripling down. Everybody was like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, look, somebody needs to tell this kid all the things. Like,
seriously. It's crazy, yo. And it's like, that's what I'm saying, like, there's a clear level of unawareness that she has created that child's behavior, you know? And
it's probably ruined his psyche for his life. Like, so parents don't understand, and it drives me nuts.
At least made it hard as fuck, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing. And I feel like because I meet so many parents, like I meet at least 100 parents a year. That's just an average normal. And you just see all these different types of people. And like I said, most of them are chill. Most of them are just like you and me and everything. But then others just have 0% idea how much they are breaking their babies. And I'm like, you wonder why your kid can't focus, can't do his homework, can't do anything but write sad poetry. Because you broke your baby. Like, what? Then this makes me go home and hug mine. Yes.
It's a lot. It's heavy. It's deep.
But also, I don't want to end this relationship conversation without just like saying a little bit more. So like, even when we were just talking about the idea of growing with a person, but I think that people don't necessarily understand what that means, what to like grow with a person, because I think that people don't realize how much they change over time. All of us, any of us, it's just gonna happen. Like, nobody is sitting here that thinking back to 3rd grade thinking that's when I was philosophically at my best. Like, you're a whole different human. I'm not thinking back to 8th grade as if that was my final me. College me, that was not my final me. 26-year-old me, not my final me. You know, like, you're not. Like, so I'm so different.
This ain't even my final form.
Ever. Well, you going extra deep. But like, now amplify that with your morphing with another person's morphing and staying connected. That's not very easy to do if you don't have a very respectful situation, because I know that there's like, everybody who knows me and my husband know that we're fun. I think that we have a good, you can tell that we like each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a secret. Like, I might be like giving him attitude, but it's only out of fun, you know? And so you can see that, you know, we're enjoying each other. But we've changed so much. We went from 1 baby to 2 babies to 3 babies. That was a big change. I went from no degree, not a teacher, to going to college through my relationship, to becoming a teacher in my relationship, now like a career professional. I went from just, he was 22 when we met, to now I have my own business on the side. Like, all of these things are big changes, and if he can't morph with me and I can't morph with him at the exact same time, you separate. It just it's a natural occurrence. It happens for anybody, but you have to be willing to put in the work. If you're not willing to put in the work, you're gonna just let it dissolve. So you have to want it, but you have to want it with all your relationships. Like, I don't want you to not be my friend anymore. So as you change, we're gonna morph. Like, I don't want these things to happen. And so because I don't want that to happen, then I'm gonna put in that work to make sure that I am always meeting your needs that you need now, as well as meeting my own needs. And if your needs change, then I'm gonna address it because I respect you and change with you. Like, look, I sound really passionate because I feel really passionate about this. I just think that people just don't care enough about other people and the people that are close to them. And you can tell by the way moms talk to kids. That's not caring. Like when a mom says something crazy to the kid, or a husband or a wife calls a husband a pussy. Like, what? Why would you say that? Like, my husband wouldn't call me a bitch. Why would he say that? You know, that's not edifying to anybody. That's not going to make anybody feel better at the end of the day. Like, he won't be going to work like, guess what, guys? My wife called me a pussy today. Like, that's horrible. Why would people say things like that to each other and say, I love you afterwards?
It's because that's what they say to themselves.
It's bananas. I'm sorry.
And it's like,
I'm all worked up.
I really feel like I know that we're such creatures of habit and like tendency, so much so that it's like, you know, the ego is like what we tell ourselves that we are, you know, this false perception that I have about what I think I am. But at the end of the day, it's like we get into, you know, so at a pure state, you know, we're energy vibrational, you know, and it's like we get into that vibration of doing that, having that interaction. And specifically this happens in relationships and connections from person to person, because we create like vibrational habits of the way that we relate to each other, specifically to that person or to that group of people, or when there's those two people and there's not that one person, like it's different, you know, vibes that come out for each one. And it's like, I feel like when, obviously, like we've been saying, when we're constantly putting that upon ourselves, you know, it's gonna come out sometimes. And maybe like with the awareness of it, we can deflate it. You know, if we notice ourselves doing it, we can, you know, draw ourselves back, you know, say what we gotta say to the other person. Or if we notice someone else doing it, we might be able to like de-escalate the situation. Just be like, hold up, you know, like let's take a step back from this. Let's cool out. But if you don't even think about it, and if you've been in like areas, circumstances, your life where it's like that is the general relationship. That's what the general relationship looks like. That's what the relationships on Netflix look like. You feel me? That's what the relationships on Hulu look like. All this drama and, you know, going back and forth, you know, calling each other names, like literally degrading each other. And then it's like mental abuse comes into it. I mean, that is a form of mental abuse. And then it's like, but like that shit escalates to physical abuse. And, you know, it's a whole bunch of manipulation that gets into that. But it's like, my point really is just we get so in that energy, and like people become addicted to that energy for real, because it's like they're so used to getting it, and it's like they don't like it, but at a point they do like it, because they keep going back for it. They keep going back for it. They tell you how much they hate the relationship, and it's been 5 years and they still together every single day doing that same shit, putting each other down all the time, fighting. And it's just like, yo, like.
And it goes back to the self-esteem, because they feel so low about themselves that they feel like they can never do better. And
this is a trap that I feel like that society sets up for us in these relationships, and with constantly putting things outside of ourselves, you know, like constantly seeing something outside of ourselves as greater or more important, or should be more of the central focus than like making sure we're good too. And it's like you can have these relationships, but if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to have no relationships. You're not taking care of yourself, eventually you're going to die. And then it's like you're not going to have no relationships left, at least in this life right now, you know. Anyway, we're not going to get into that side of things.
In there too.
But
yes,
it's like,
exactly.
It's like, yeah, like if you not taking that time and really like, I don't
No,
I
feel
it.
No.
I was flowing with it.
No, I was with that. And on top of that, to just piggyback off of that, stop relating to people with negativity.
Oh yeah, I got back to it.
Okay, I'm gonna put a pin in it.
Okay. But like then, all right. So you get into a relationship with someone, and then y'all create this habit of constantly going into these toxic cycles, these toxic conversations, whatever it is, and then it's like putting yourself outside of yourself, draining yourself, and then it's like, you know, we talk about this too, like y'all having sexual intercourse, y'all putting all that energy, just pushing that shit around even more, because that's the energy that y'all have created together. So it's like, that shit just gets so entrenched to the point that becomes more and more of your energy. Absolutely. And then you're combining yourself with them. You feel me? You're combining yourself with this person, taking on all of their energy. So now y'all already have toxic connection between y'all, but now you got their insecurities and their problems and their shit coming up too.
Because people forget, and it's not to sound corny, but sex is for a reason. Sex is to create. You're going to create no matter what, whether it's a Facts. Baby or energy or what. You're going to create
a whole world of energy.
Absolutely, and it's the most intense creation. It's like a whole like battery going through. So what are you like battering through your body? That's not a word, battery. You know what I'm saying? What's flowing through you?
What you charging through?
Yeah, dude, I like that. Much better, much better. Yeah, battering through.
Nah, yo, for
but
real.
Even like I remember there was like this person that I knew. I don't want to say more because you'll know who that person is. There was a person that I knew, and every time you like, as soon as you see them, they were just like, I had a bad back today, got a bad car, broke down, like, oh, the waitress was mean to me. Yeah. And it got to the point that I was just like, yo, are you making up scenarios to start a conversation? And I'm like, you're so addicted.
Was it?
I think so.
Oh my God.
I do. Because like this person, it was like she just was digging for it. I'm like, what are we doing here?
I've seen people like that too. Like also like what do you call it? Like pathological lying.
Oh yeah, this person had that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, she was doing it right there by making up complete
problems, yes.
false scenarios. But like, yo, it's like people do that so much, and I feel like it either goes to one or two extremes. It's like either like, oh, everything in the world is against me, or everything's about me. You feel me?
This
it's
like those two. Like they just
going back and forth.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not surprised. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, like I feel there's one friend of mine that I grew up with. Literally just used to, bro. Like I thought bro was the dopest dude that I ever met. He was a couple years older than me. He was in my youth group. Like he probably knows who he is now. So sorry, bro. Kind of coming at you. If you ever see this podcast, yeah. Anyway, like I already thought he was the dopest person in the world. Like that was my big homie. That was my OG. He was just a couple years older than me, but like I had all the love for bro. And then like at a certain point when we got to like middle school, he would just start lying and like making up shit about himself to like, I guess, make him seem cooler. But like it didn't. It just made him seem less cool to me because I'm like, and that didn't really knock me down off of him. I was just like, bro, like I fuck with you as you are, you know. And I never really said too much about it because I didn't want to like burst his bubble, like you know. But like I was like 12, you know, so I was like, what the? It was so weird. Like I'm like 12 years old. Like why is this happening right now? And I was really like having some deep thoughts about it, and I think it was like that same year, like I realized he was a pathological liar, and I'm just like, this is crazy. But like I remember, the one time like he lied to me about he was on the football team, and I had started training to play football when I got into high school, like late on in 8th grade. So I think he was saying it to like relate, you know, and he was telling me how like he was a freshman at the time already. He was telling me how he started varsity quarterback and he threw for like 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. And at first I was like, oh shit.
And then you
realized, I was like, but then there started to be other things. Then he was actually telling me that he was a part of a gang and all this, and I really knew that he was not a part of the gang. So I was just like, but then every time, you know, he's coming around with the red bandana on him. Like,
oh, wow.
I'm just like, no, bro, because, like, there's so much that I could say about that, but, like, why are we pretending to be that?
It's exactly. I'll get you there.
Like you putting yourself in danger for no affiliation at all. No affiliation at all. Just
I wonder that about like at least I feel like, and I hate to give anybody a pass, but I'm like at least when you're young that might be. But my person was like a way older than me woman. And I was just like, why? Why are we doing? And it was the same thing, just lying to be cool. I was like, this is so uncool. I'm like, And a lot of them were like slightly bigoted comments too. And I'm just like, you're just all the way annoying. Like that's my word. That's my low key. Like just annoying. You were a pest.
It's like some people would much rather live in the false reality that they created for themselves because they don't want to. They don't want to go and sit at their table.
But they also don't realize it. I feel like even though they're looking at another person's table, they don't feel like they can go to another table.
They don't feel like they have one. They feel like there's no table for them.
But they
had to get up off their table and go look around to come to that conclusion.
If you ask me, though, those types of people aren't gonna ascend this lifetime. I don't think. Like, I really do feel strongly about that. Like, I don't think that tons of people ascend all the time.
I would definitely bet my bets on someone that had a more open mind and like was willing to be more honest. But you never know. They could have a life-changing experience today that I feel like,
But you know what?
Life could flash before their eyes and all of a sudden.
When it comes to that, though, even, because I'm sure you've, now I don't want to say anything specific because I don't want to quote anything wrong. But I'm going to say, I'm sure you've heard of, that there's just a small group of people who are, the ones who know, and then the really, really small group of people of the ones who are about to ascend. You know what I'm talking about? You've heard this type of...
You said small group of people that's about to ascend?
Yeah, there's a bunch of people, most of the people don't know. Tiny group of people know, and then tiny group of people ready to go.
Like the Illuminati type.
Well, I guess when I make that hand motion, it turns into that.
Soul Illuminati.
I did not mean to do that, but anyway. But the idea behind that one, if you ask me, from my interpretation of that, is that just by you knowing that you know, you're already moved up to the next level. Because there's plenty of people who are like, don't bring that spiritual mumbo jumbo. You don't know. You don't know what I'm talking about. So if you know, you're there. But then if you know that you're at ascension level, I believe that is the ticket. It's just what you know. It's what you it's no magic ticket, nothing. It's just you knowing that that's where you are, and that's the ticket. But until you know, it's not going to happen. So if you have doubts, if you're like, I don't know, maybe not, that's not it. You know. But that's for everything, because now not to be even about that, but manifesting. Anytime you're using your imagination in any type of way, it's 100% real. 100% in any type of way you use it. Any dream that you're having, any kind of spark creativity, all of that is 100% real. But the thing is that us on earth, people tell you that's just your imagination as you're growing older, so you don't realize that it's doing something, and so you don't put any onus on it because you don't think you're just using your imagination. But if you're a manifester, then you know automatically that what you're thinking is really happening. So say for instance, even you're getting into deeper levels of spirituality. Say for instance, you want to be an energy healer. If you believe that you are channeling the creator through you, you will channel the creator. You are doing that because you believe it to be so. And I bet you 9 times out of 10, the experience you will know it through the experience, and you have your own mind blown because it's as real as just putting in your head. So I just think that it's just so important that people stop thinking coincidence and imagination. No, it's real, and the realer you believe it to be, the sooner you will have it right there.
Yeah, so important too. I love how that relates to, have you ever heard of Plato's cave theory? Okay, so
I teach that.
Yeah, word up. That's what's up. I didn't think 8th graders would be on that level. That's dope.
I make them on that level.
That's what's up. I love it. And on that note, that's a perfect example for it. And for people that don't know what it is, on a brief description, because I know we going a little OT right now.
That's okay. They missed us.
So yeah, facts. It's the extended special. So in Plato's cave theory, it talks about people that are living down in a cave, and behind they're chained up to a wall, and they can only face in front of them. And the wall that's in front of them has all these shadows that are projected onto the wall. and it's coming from, there's a fire like behind them somewhere, and it'll be like, you know, passing animals, passing people, like people coming with like merchant carts and whatnot. So they see all these different objects, they see all these different people, beings, you know, passing by, and they're just watching the shadows. They just watch the shadows of it the whole time they're alive. And there happens to be this one guy who breaks loose of the chain somehow, and he gets up out of the cave, goes and sees the light, and at first he's like blinded by the sun, and he's just like, oh fuck, like what the fuck is this? Like I can't even imagine. Like imagine just living your whole life in chained to a wall in a hole, and then you come out and you see sunshine and trees and blue skies and colors, like all this shit is gonna be crazy. But he now also realizes that these shadows that are keeping people so entertained in this world of the cave are actual tangible things that you can interact with and you can experience and you can like have.
Look at this. We look great. We're both in the camera.
It's bright. It looks wider too.
It looks wonderful. We gotta upgrade. Okay.
Alright, so like I was saying, basically this guy gets out and he realizes that all these shadow projections that everyone is being entertained by on the wall are like real tangible things, people, you know, things that you can experience, things that you can actually, you know, have more of than just the thought of, because the shadow is kind of like representative of like the thought, I feel like. And he goes down into the cave and he starts to tell people about like what he's seen, like seeing the sun, and they're just like, yo, like this guy is crazy as fuck, like he must have found some drugs, I don't know what he's doing, but like this guy is literally insane. And he sat there and just like frustrated himself in attempting to tell people about like all the real people and real things that you can go out and experience. And on that note, I feel like it just ties so deeply in with like manifesting, and when people don't believe that they are possible of like creating things in their life or attracting things into their life because they're seeing these images. You know, everyone's on Instagram watching their favorite music artist or their favorite, you know, whoever doing whatever, you know, whoever you might aspire to, or maybe it's not even a particular person, but maybe you just want to be that music artist or visual artist or graphic designer, but you're like, that thought is there and you keep having that thought, you're like, I love this, it's great, and then you're like, that's not for me, I cannot do it. So you keep yourself chained to that wall and in that cave where none of these things are really possible for you, because that's what you're telling yourself, when in reality all of that is tangible. You can, you know, go out and meet new people, you can attract great people in your life, you can, you know, manifest the things that you want to manifest into your life if you believe you can.
Absolutely. And honestly, you shouldn't beat yourself up about the stage that you're in if you're not doing that, because that serves a purpose too in the time period. It just doesn't feel like it. And I use the example, like, I really, 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 really wanted to be an occupational therapist. And I really, really, really had a specific goal. I wanted to work with, like, people who are recently, like, having spinal cord injuries or whatever. Like, that was my thing. I mean, if you've read my second book, you know that that's, like, something that I've, like, studied or whatever. Like, I'm just so into it. And I didn't take that career choice because I'm afraid of math and science. And so I just let that stop me. Now, thinking back, at this age, I'm like, you would have just sucked it up and it would have been a rough time, but you would have finished math and science. You won't die of math and science. But my whole thing that even now I still pine after that career, and I'm still like, man, I would have been a great occupational therapist, but I didn't do it because I was scared at the time. But I didn't have a plan on becoming a teacher. So now I'm a teacher, and it's, even though I think about being an occupational therapist, I'm like, I do feel pretty in my lane.
I feel like there's lots of therapy that comes by way of you in the positions that you are.
You just tell me nice things.
Just an observation, because it's like, I feel like, I mean, obviously, you know, therapy is great for the whole process of therapy, but like, for me, there's so many things that are therapeutic, you know, and it was like, having good teachers in my life was therapeutic, you know, having good family around me or just good energy, good people period around is like therapeutic. And when there's that love, I feel like that's what it is. And it's like also too, you know, when you're focused on like what you want for your life or manifesting something into your life, don't be so concrete on what it has to look like, because I feel like you got the energy that you wanted. Like you said, you're in your lane. You got the energy, you got that impact of, you know, touching people's lives directly. It's just not exactly how you thought it looked like.
Absolutely.
And like on a whole different lane, you could have been so overly set on that you didn't allow nothing else for yourself. And, you know?
Absolutely. Which is funny because sometimes not even sometimes, I feel like that when in terms of starting my nonprofit. So I've been working on making a youth center for 3 years, and the idea has been good since conception, but it just hasn't taken off. Like, and I haven't met anyone who's not said it was a good idea and the business plan was great. But I think that, and I don't know, I go back and forth about this one, like which thought is the right thought. But sometimes I feel like I was going into these meetings where I could have done big business, and I was a little bit too big for my britches for somebody who just started a business, and just kind of like trying to embody the boss energy, but embodying it in a way that was off-putting. And I think that I like shot myself in the foot a few times just because I was a lot of boss energy, and I was like unrelenting on my vision of what I saw the center to be. Like, I thought to myself that if I were to just be so concrete about what I believed it to be, then that's what will make it so, because that's what we believe about manifesting is like you picture it 100% and you make it in your head. But
the energy.
But like,
I mean, you picture it, but you don't get the picture, you get the energy.
That's what that was my butt, is that, like, I should have just, you know, been more, like, even now, because now it's finally a thing, but that's because I let it go, and I was just like, it's going to be what it's going to be, and then all of a sudden, it was something when it wasn't anything before, and people thought my energy was good and trusted the energy, but it was when I just said it is going to be whatever it's going to be, and then it finally became a real live physical place, you know, and it was that letting go of just being so rigid about it, because what I want will come, but there also is a level of baby stepping that I feel like people don't feel like they want to do or feel like they're above doing, and I don't, again, I feel both ways about this too, where like,
me too.
Like, sometimes I feel like you can just go straight to the top, but then I think that there's also, sometimes you gotta work your way, work your way up, you know, like, even when I was in school to be a teacher, most teachers don't go the route. I already was an adult. I already was, like, not college age. I already had kids, like, when I went to school to be a teacher, and to get into the field and get my, like, experience in there, my resume up, I was a paraprofessional. And I don't know if anybody knows what a paraprofessional is, but you're like not even a student like an assistant. You're the person who's like with somebody who needs somebody all the time. And there was a point where, like, I was changing teenage diapers, you know, and then I became a teacher's assistant, and then I went and finally got a substitute job. Then I moved up, and when from that substitute job, I got taken to the place I wanted to be, and I was just a sub there. And the very first day, the principal asked me, "Do you want to lead this room?" The very first day, and that was just by being that sub and scooting my way up. I became a lead that day. I didn't even finish my degree. Advanced degrees weren't done yet. Like, I didn't have my teaching degree. I just had the bachelor's, and because they saw me, I got what I wanted. But I got there kind of slowly, maybe not slowly in the big picture, but it wasn't overnight, you know. So I do think that there's some times where you're just gonna fly to the top, but other times you have to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Going slow.
And I feel like, you know, way too many people are afraid of failure, and also, like, way too many people are, yo, my mind has been flowing today.
Just let it go.
But so wow, can you please refresh my memory on what you just said?
You're gonna ask me to refresh somebody's memory? Have you met me?
Mm.
That my memory is not the memory to refresh other people's memories with.
It's going to come back to me in a second.
But in the meantime, I can't.
Oh yeah. You don't want to be afraid of failure because, or what you don't want. That's the other words I was looking for. Because every time, first of all, you can only fail, huh?
You're pulling it to you when you're afraid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you bringing more of that energy to you, bringing more fearful situations into your life. But like every time, first of all, you can only fail if you choose to stop doing what you're doing. There's no point of actual failure until you get knocked down and you just say, all right, I'm gonna die right here. Like this is it. This is my point. So as long as you choose to keep going, even if you do make something that you feel like is a mistake, it's really not. And why it's not is because everything that we don't want shows us what we do want. And it's like so many people are afraid of, okay, it's not gonna look exactly what I want, but everything that you don't want about it is giving more definition to what you do want it to be. So every time that we fail, every time we have a mistake, every time that we're somewhere where we feel like maybe we shouldn't have been, it was really showing us and pushing us more closer to where we should have been and where we're supposed to be and where we're going. So I feel like in that sense, like don't feel like you're off track. Just know that all this contrast of like as opposed to necessarily directly what you want is giving more definition to what it is that you don't want. Because I know for me, every time that I have some situation where I feel like, oh, like, some business aspect is falling apart, or, this isn't working out, this job isn't working out in the past, like, it didn't work out, and then instantly, better job is there. Or maybe not instantly, maybe in time, but it's like, also, all those things, like, I got to see and experience and be like, all right, I appreciate this about, where I'm at right now, and I don't appreciate this. So I'm going to take what I appreciate and I'm going to leave what I don't. And then it's like, it reinforces everything about who you are, everything about what you're not. It's like Kanye said, everything I'm not made me everything I am. You feel me? And it's like, everything we're not, how could we be who we are without everything we're not? So it's like, don't be afraid of that. Lean into that. You feel me? Go and find out who you really are by leaning into more of what maybe you feel like isn't you.
I love that because since we're the whole topic is relationships, the overarching topic. I know that I was in a really crappy relationship before I got married, and I had a baby in that relationship, and I wanted to have a child in that relationship from what I was going through in the moment. But it was just a crappy relationship. It wasn't anything that anybody should be planning to have a child through, but I did. And he was just awful, just in terms of not on purpose, just a wounded person being wounded. So he was just an awful wounded animal, and it just didn't work out because I was healing and he was just wounded. And so with that being said, after it was over, I was like kind of a little bit traumatized because it was just that awful, and I had gone so far outside myself to a person that I don't even recognize, and like my friends didn't want to be my friends anymore. My little sisters stopped looking up to me. Like, it was really bad. And afterwards, when we broke up when I finally had enough sense to say, you have to leave now and you can't come back, and I made that clear, like, give me my keys, like you gotta go. And my one friend, who's been my friend for like 15 years now, she told me, she was like, you should make a journal specifically for this moment and write down all of like your 10 complete 100% non-negotiables that you can't live without anymore, and stick to those like the Holy Grail. And so I wrote these 10 non-negotiables, and at the time, my husband was already in my life, so I already knew him. Like, we were already like buddies, we hung out or whatever, but he was a married person, and so we hadn't hung out for a really long time. And then when I saw him, I was like, oh, by the way, like, I'm broken up. And he was like, oh, I just put in for a divorce. And I'm like, that's strange timing. So we, as just buddies, go out to dinner. And over dinner, since we were just been like such friends this whole time, we're just talking, and I'm realizing like, yo, every single one of my non-negotiables, the box has been checked. because like I knew him long enough to know, and because I just never looked at him in that way because it wasn't appropriate. And so I'm like, yo, every single box is checked. There was one major box that I didn't expect, which is that he was white. I didn't expect that because that wasn't my thing at all. So that was actually a really hard pill for me to swallow, if I'm going to be very honest. But the 10 non-negotiables being met made me push through an interracial relationship when I wouldn't normally have pushed through to have an interracial relationship. And it's been the best thing ever besides other people. But like between he and I, like it's great, but it's because I learned so much from my garbage relationship and he learned so much from his garbage relationship that we came together and we were like 0% garbage in this relationship, and we have not brought garbage to the table since. Like it never happened.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I feel like that really paints a picture perfectly, because everything we not, appreciative of is gonna bring what you are appreciative, and even emphasize what you're appreciative of, and bring you more appreciation in that, because it's like through those experiences, it's like we remember how those experiences felt, and then it's like in the new experiences of, when we are at moments of peace and experiencing what it is that we do want, it's like a whole nother level of appreciation, because it's not just that, it's that and what it's not.
Absolutely. I love that you put it that way, that it's that, but it's also not. Because it is, I think my relationship with all the people that I have in my life are like super strong, and it's everything that I want and nothing that I don't want, and in all the people that I consider close to me. So I just think that you could just learn so much from people being crappy. Like,
no, facts. They honestly, like, sometimes this is like a weird thought that's coming to my head, but like I feel as though at times it might be an equal push between like the people who have supported me along the way and the people who have straight up just like disgraced me along the way, like, because they lit that fire in me too, to believe in myself, and all of me externalizing myself and realizing that I put my faith in something that I shouldn't have. It just brought it all back to me, and it reinforced, like, keep this inside of yourself first.
Absolutely.
Before,
I think you're like a step ahead too in that, just because like you're learning it before you're like doing some crazy real big like love relationship, you know what I mean? When I feel like I learned it during, and I don't know if that's the best time to learn it. Like I would have loved to come to the table as 100%, as you should, but I didn't come to the table 100%, and I don't think he came to the table 100% either.
I feel like I don't have 100%.
You don't think? Well, 100% of who you are as a person. You know what I mean? Like
just
you
living in that honesty.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't have that at all. Right. Like I was so lost, because the guy that was before my husband would tell me like, I don't like you, your color is the wrong color, I don't like girls who look like you, I don't like your voice sucks.
What's he wasting his time around
That's
you?
That's why I was like, exactly. And I'm like, if you hate my voice so much, and I'm very talkative, so what are we doing here?
If he really did, he would have not been around you, because you definitely talk way too much for that.
Exactly. That's bananas. And he used to tell me, this was the kicker, because this was when I was just starting to talk about becoming a teacher, and I used to always say, I want to teach in this one particular city. If you're from Jersey, Camden, New Jersey is considered like it goes with one of like the top 5 most disparaged cities in the country or whatever. But that was my goal, because it's like, even though I don't live there, that's my home city, because this is my state. And so I just wanted to go to where my people were and where they needed somebody. And he used to tell me all the time, like, them kids ain't gonna listen to you. Like, nobody wants to hear your voice. Like, you think you could fit? You don't have anything you could give those kids. They don't want nothing from you. And I'm just like, that's hilarious to me, because I've been teaching for over a decade, and I think that there's no principal that would ever say that I didn't have the best relationship with students. Nobody. Like, are you kidding me? And I'm just like, wow, you were like that much of a hater that you would like try to take my natural shine and try to say that people don't want, like, who doesn't want to be around me?
And it's crazy, because it's just like he was pulling from a basis of like no experience whatsoever. Like, yeah, them kids don't want to be around you. Never saw you teach. Never been around you in a school environment. Like, that's just like people like that, But it's like, you know, I don't know if you did, but like at any point, did you allow that to affect you? Like, did it bring you down at any point?
No, because at that point, it was the point where I was really recognizing him for what he was, and I was just like,
and it's like,
what you gonna do?
I feel like those moments are the best. Like, it's kind of shitty because like, yeah, that person is standing there being shit, but like when you realize that it's not you, like there's nothing to do with me, it's just this person is doing whatever they're doing right now, and they got a whole lot to say. I feel like that was always some of the, because then you can just laugh about it. You just like, all right, whatever. Like they sitting there trying to put all that energy onto you, and you just like, yo, like,
absolutely.
you see right through that shit.
Sometimes I hope that they just stumble, like they Google me, and then they could just run across one of these podcasts and see what it's really like. Like, it'd be
a hard listen.
Yeah, because you don't want to hear my voice. You don't want it to be a hard listen because my voice, remember? You can't hear that much of me.
He don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah, he not ready. He's not going to send. But what is...
He find that he going to listen to every podcast just to hear your voice.
Probably. He probably got old voicemails from 16 years ago still saved. I mean... Hey, that's his loss. I'm the Golden Dawn. It is what it is. What you gonna do? But we had like 70 minutes at this point, I think. So we said, I knew it was gonna be this kind of episode too, because I just felt like, I mean, I felt it. I've been felt it. So I've been wanting to make this one for a long time.
Shout out to my sis Urelis. I just want to say shout out to you for watching all the podcasts in one day. I don't know how you did it, but she been saying that she needs us to make this next episode, so this one's for you. It's
extra long just for you,
because
we know we missed the date, we know we were off, but we're back on properly, and this one is just for you. So
yep, we got you.
All love.
All love.
Make that little cute little heartsy thing that the little babies do. You've seen the
What's
babies?
that?
You don't see
like
them
this?
A heart. Yeah, it's a heart.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up. I appreciate everyone, for sharing this space with us, coming out here and what we got to say. Check us out a couple weeks from now with another episode. And if you don't know already, for all my people that's only on YouTube, you gotta go check out. It's out right now, As the Story Goes, by Dawn Golden. So, is there anything that you want to say about that?
Okay, so super cool, and shout out to Harmony for hooking me up here. I didn't know about this app called Wattpad. Have you heard about Wattpad? Before her? Did you know about this?
Before Harmony, nah.
Yes.
She put me on.
So if you don't know, like I didn't know, this is a really
I'm
fly
still
app.
novice. Like I don't know much about it.
Super
so.
same. I'm gonna sound like an ad, but typically when I like something, I sound like an ad. Okay, so this is not an ad.
It probably won't sound like an ad because I feel like a lot of times on the ads they just be paid to say it. You feel me?
So they just
passion.
Well, yeah.
But some maybe they find some of the real people.
I don't know. They find people like me and they're just like, hey, you want to pay me money to tell you about how awesome I think this thing is?
How much I love this?
Exactly. Okay. I'm good for that. but Wattpad is this app that you can get. I know it's both on the Apple, the iTunes store, and I'm pretty sure this on like the Android, but I don't know because I don't live that life. But it's super cool because
it's also a website.
Yes, it is a website too, so you can find it on a website. But amateur authors, as well as just indie authors, professionally, any level author you can be, you can upload portions of your story. You can write them as they're coming to you and put them out like week by week. And people can read your stories just like chapter by chapter and comment on them inside the page. The cool thing is that you can go line by line and comment on that word and say, ooh, that was a fly word or whatever. So anyway, with that being said, my book, As the Story Goes, which is one out of the 3 that you can get, the other 2 are strictly on Amazon, but this one is on Wattpad right now, As the Story Goes, and I'm pretty sure that at this point we're at chapter 3. So if you are not like, I don't know if I'm going to even read that book, do yourself a favor and just give yourself a chapter at a time. And if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. But the best thing about it is my other books, album release, and Who is Hassan Ahmad, not the same tone of story, a whole different type of story. So you might not like one, but you might like another. So give it a try on Wattpad and see how you like it, because I think it's a really fly way to try out books, especially my book.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely check it out on there. We will drop the link in the video description. So so she's gonna do that because she didn't know that she was gonna do that.
But now it knows.
We'll also drop links to Instagrams in the video description, and yeah, so go and check that out on Wattpad. Definitely, read through the first 3 chapters. If you're looking for something a little more adventurous or urban, a little more, I don't know.
It could be both of those things. It could be adventurous and urban.
If you're looking for something else, go on Amazon and check out Who is Hassan Ahmad. Definitely. Or album release. Or both. Definitely just do all of them. And they're all interconnected, so as you read one, you're like, oh, that's the bull from the other one. Oh, yeah,
that's the best part.
That's the best part, for sure.
Yeah, so it's a series.
And it's always going to be that way, right?
Exactly. It's a series, but you don't have to read them in order. You could pick them up any way you want to, and it's always going to be like that. There's, in my computer, there are a lot of people that need to come out and be published. So you're going to have endless universe. This is just the first 3 books, but I really do have endless. Like, I just can't pay my editor quick enough to get them published.
Word.
That's how many I have. So be ready, because I got another one dropping this year. I got the next 4th one, so you better get on that as the story goes.
Stay tuned, y'all, because these books, there's volume to them. Volume. So, but it's no filler. It's all like, it's going to pull you in. It's going to have you like, yo, I can't wait to go back and read it and just watch this movie in my head.
He's my one guy fan club.
Nah, it's a few of us on the hush hush, but now we speaking up. So,
I love it. I manifested that.
Yeah.
Because I said I wanted to be a known author, and now people know me. That's true. So I got to manifest something bigger.
Anybody that knows me knows you. Real talk, because the way that I talk about you, they know you, and you could talk to any of my friends and ask them. They're like, yeah, I know who you are. I'm
pretty sure it's vice versa. Also, I'm pretty sure that everybody knows about Tariq Dupri in my side of the world. Though I refer to you as my baby bestie, so that's how they know you.
So if anyone is wondering, this is a good example of a connection right here. You feel me? We just came together, all my friends fuck with her friends. Well, actually, nah. All my friends fuck with her. They don't know her friends. But
I only got one.
Her friends
you
support
probably
me.
met her.
But what else? I feel like it was something else. I don't know. I think that's it. But thank you to anyone who made it all the way through. I know it was a long episode. We appreciate you. Much love to you. We'll see you back again in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And yeah, like I said, check out Wattpad. Check us out on Instagram and keep up in the loop with us. Alright, so peace.